Today we are very blessed to hear the inspiring story of Thomas Awiapo. Growing up in the small African village of Ghana, Thomas was orphaned at a very young age. He was the second of 4 brothers. His 2 youngest brothers died of malnutrition. His search for food ended up being life-saving. It drew him to an elementary school where he was fed a small meal every day. And he credits that small meal for saving his life. He studied, he won scholarships to attend college, and eventually he earned a master's degree from California State University. Today, Thomas is employed by Catholic Relief Services, where he works to promote global solidarity. He still lives in Ghana with his wife and his 4 children. His story of initiative and his joyful presence has inspired thousands of people in the United States. So please join me in giving a warm welcome to Thomas Awiapo.
Good morning.
Morning.
All the way from Ghana, Africa, so many thousands of miles away from home. And I'm still juggling with the time. I don't know where I am. Ghana is 8 hours ahead, and so sometimes in the night I think it's daytime for me. And I'm also, when I came, I went straight to a place called Wisconsin. So I'm still recovering from eating too much cheese. In my life, I have never eaten cheese. I don't know what cheese is. My stomach doesn't know what cheese is. Then I get into this place, and everywhere I went, they gave me cheese. I told them I couldn't eat it, and they said to me, "Sorry, Thomas, when you are in Wisconsin, you either eat cheese or you die." Glad to be here alive, and hopefully I'll eat. I prefer fruits, not cheese. I get a lot of fruits here. But I have traveled to many other places. I've been to 49 states in your beautiful country, so I've seen a lot in your country. There's only one state more, and nobody will get it right. I know people will be guessing, and people will say Hawaii, Alaska, none of that. One more state. I would have done all 50 states, and it's Nebraska. Simple message, a message of gratitude. Yesterday I was in all 3 Catholic schools. Wonderful experience. Those children are like little theologians and philosophers. They asked me the most piercing, great questions. We had a great encounter there. But just before I start, I wanted to share something, a very well-kept secret about me. Many people don't know. I was this close to becoming a priest, very close, just like this, close to becoming a priest. But I got distracted by a nice young lady. So today I'm married with 4 children. And you know, some people, they ask me, how did you get this close to becoming a priest? And you make a U-turn. And I say to them, my bishop and everyone, I said, you know, celibacy is such a beautiful, great, precious gift. And God didn't give me that. And so when they try to blame me, and then the bishop makes fun of me and teases me, and I'm like, blame God, don't blame me. But I'm saying this with great respect for all the priests here. I just bow, I'm really full of admiration and thanking God every day for you. But the good news is that I teach in the major seminary right now. I teach those who are ordained deacons and ready for priestly ordination. I teach their management leadership in that seminary that takes care of 5 dioceses. So you can rest assured I'm still in good standing with the church. That's done. And just before I start with this, my little story, this beautiful title that I saw when I was preparing for my thing, I just have a little presentation that I made to a parish, and I want to talk about followers of Christ, disciples of love. You know, every Christian is a follower or a disciple of Christ. A disciple is a learner. A disciple is a student. A disciple is a pupil. In ancient times, disciples usually would look for their teacher. Disciples would go around looking for a teacher. But in the case of Jesus, we see the reverse. Jesus, he calls people to become his disciples. Mark 16:1-20. Jesus did not establish a school in a particular place. He was an itinerant preacher, a wandering preacher. So his disciples had to follow him from place to place. Jesus' students learned not only from his great teachings, but more importantly from his way of life, from the ways of the kingdom. They were asked to follow him, and he would make them fishers of people. Matthew 4:19. To follow him is to live and act like him. Jesus wants to communicate not just teachings and insights with disciples. He shares his life, his way of being, and his mission statement with his disciples. And we all know that Jesus' mission statement, Luke 8:14, you will see there very clearly. The Spirit of the Lord is upon me, because he has anointed me to bring good news to the poor. He has sent me to proclaim release to the captives and recovery of sight to the blind, and to let the oppressed go free. You know, when you look at this and reflecting on Jesus' life, we know that he actually lived this to the full. And every diocese and every parish is called upon to have a mission statement inspired by Christ's mission statement, which must include social justice. Social justice goes beyond just private charity. It's one thing when you give food to a hungry person, great personal charity. But when you talk of justice, it's changing the systems and structures that no one has access to eat, while some have nothing to eat. Work towards a fair social, economic, political, and ecclesiastical system that benefits all. You know, this is just a little thing, and I don't want to continue from there, but I just wanted to say, for me, all this thing is summarized into this little thing. I don't know, most of us have written exams before. I hate exams. Exams in school, exams for interviews and all that, I'm so scared of exams. And I know everyone here would have experienced exams in one way or the other. The fear of exam is not about the exam itself, it's about the thinking. You will prepare so much, plan, read, and do everything for the exam, but you are wondering, what will those questions be? No matter how prepared you are, you're still worried because you don't know what the questions will be. That's the most difficult part of an exam. And we know that we will be writing the exams of life. I don't know if our lives, we all have to write, that is an exam. But the good thing here is that exam, Jesus Christ is the examiner, and he gives us the questions and even the answers. How nice is that? He gives us the question, including the answers. Very simple. When I was hungry, you fed me. When I was thirsty, you gave me water. When I was sick, you visited me. And when I was in prison, you came round to give me consolation. Think about that. If you fail that exam, then I don't know what to say again. We've been given the answers, given the questions. Now I just want to say, how did I experience my experience of justice, my experience of love? Comes from a very simple, tiny little story. I come to you from a small little village in Ghana. I grew up in a village where I had never seen electricity in my life. The only source of light I had access to was just the moonlight. And I'm not complaining because we had fun with the moonlight. You know, when you don't have electricity, that moonlight can be so bright. I remember we used to sit down waiting for that moonlight to come up, and we can tell stories, play the drums, and have fun. So I really have fun memories of that. And I'm not complaining, because if you ask me today, what is the greatest need? I would never say electricity. Never. I grew up in a small, tiny village where I had no access to running water. The only source of water I had access to was water from a river. We walked miles to get to that river. Lots of germs. You go there, you don't need a microscope. You look into that water, you can see germs running around. You simply tell the germs, hey germs, excuse me, I need that water. And you drink it. Sometimes the germs can be very friendly, sometimes they can be very nasty. I know many who died drinking that water. And many still die drinking that water today. It's wonderful when you can twist that little faucet and water flows beautifully. Drink it, but just be mindful that there are some parts of the world where it's such a big, big hassle to come by clean, safe drinking water just to stay healthy. I grew up in a small, tiny little village, unfortunately, with our parents. God gave me beautiful parents. Beautiful parents. Unfortunately, they didn't live long. They died so young. Within 2 years, both of my parents died. I have lived all my life actually not knowing what it means to have a parent. I still cry for parents sometimes. I try to get rid of it. It doesn't go away. I'm the father of 4 children. I still miss parents. I have a little daughter who makes me even more miserable about not having parents. My little daughter, usually she'll look me in the face and she's like, hey daddy, where are your parents? I just try not to answer that question. Most of the times I will distract her, but she doesn't give up. She will roll around, she will come back and say, hey daddy, I ask you a question. We get to see mommy's parents, they come here every day, but you daddy, where are your parents? I have to answer that question. So I told her, explained to her gently, they died. She was very, very sad. She cried a lot. And I cried too. At one point, she then said to me, Daddy, I feel sorry about that. But I just have one last question. She said to me, Daddy, don't you have a picture of your parents? Just show me a picture of your parents. Unfortunately, I have never seen a picture of my parents. And that was what really shut me down. I cried a lot. And so, when I spoke to 3 schools yesterday, the one message I left for them all was that you've got to really, really cherish that great gift of parents. You've got to find time to have fun having parents. And everyone wants got to say something. Thank God for the gift of parents. I lived all my life without parents, and it's not fun. I don't wish it for anyone. Somebody asked me, how old were you when your parents died? I have never known how old I am. I don't have a date of birth. I don't have any birth records at all. I was born in a very little mud hut, roofed with grass thatch. I was not born in a hospital. My parents couldn't read and write. They had no idea what it means to have any birth records. So I stand here today, I don't know. I don't have a date of birth. You know, sometimes there are some people who feel so sorry for me, but I just don't feel sorry for myself. Because for me, you know, when you don't have a date of birth, you can always stay young. Yes. I mean, I keep changing my date of birth all the time. I don't know how many times I change my date of birth. It's just, you know, I went to a little village, a school where I was speaking here, and then this little boy, he was celebrating his birthday and had this beautiful birthday cake. And I was looking at, well, I've never seen it, so he gave me a little piece and I tasted it, and that was so good. I asked him how old he was. The boy said to me, listen, I will be 10 years in just 10 minutes. That boy knew exactly the minute he was born. I was so jealous of that. I don't even know the year I was born. I don't know. You know, you've got to thank God for birthdays. And then they asked me, the children asked me all sorts of questions. They said, if you don't know how old you were, how did you know you were old enough to go to school? I said, they tell you to put your hands over your head, and if you can touch your other ear, you were old enough to go to school. And because you don't want to go to school, anytime the teachers ask you to touch your ear, you try not to touch. You know, if you touch, you were condemned to go to school. We don't want to go to school. That's where I come from. Growing up with our parents was not fun. There are still moments now in my life when I wish I could have somebody that I would call daddy or mommy. If you give your parents a call, if you do have them, tell them how wonderful they are. Sometimes I wish I could call a parent, just to see how it feels like. When my parents died, we were 4 little boys. They gave birth to us 4 tiny little boys. Unfortunately, they died. We had to fend for ourselves. It was not fun. We're not very happy kids. We're very sad kids, miserable kids. A lot of the times we cried for food. A lot of the times we fought one another for food. When you have 4 little boys waking up to the point that there's nothing called breakfast, nothing called lunch. And if you are lucky at 9, they give you that little bowl of soup. And the 4 of you will have to share that. We sat in that little circle with that little bowl of soup. And we look at it, and it's so tiny. And we start to cry, and we end up just fighting one another. The worst thing I've ever experienced in life is going to bed with that painful, the pain of hunger in this little belly. Hunger is evil. And I've had many, many nights that I had to go to bed, not able to sleep because I was too hungry. Obviously, the 4 of us grew so sick, so malnourished, we all didn't survive. 2 of my little brothers, they died. And I watched them die. One of them died lying on my laps. I was like a parent to that little boy. He grew so bony, so malnourished. He died on my laps without me knowing that he was dead. And they picked him out of my laps. That has never left my mind. I don't forgive myself a lot of times. But then my oldest brother simply ran away from the village. He just left. It's over 40 years now. I've never heard of him, never seen him. I've tried to look for him, but I've not been lucky enough. I know one of the little boys in the school said to me, He was really upset that I have a sibling, a brother that I haven't seen for 40 years. So the boy he's so sad. So he said to me, Thomas, don't worry, I can help you on that. And I was wondering what he was going to say. Then he said to me, I will Google him up for you. And I said, Google doesn't probably know my village. My brother probably hasn't been to school. I don't know where he is. I just pray that he's alive and that one day he will show up. And it will be a big celebration. Like in the gospel, the prodigal son returning home. That big celebration, because he would have been lost and found dead, come alive. But I stayed in that village. Catholic Relief Services came there. I was not Christian, I was not Catholic. I didn't know who Catholic Relief Service was. But they came to the little village, and the first thing they did, they built a school. I hated school. I didn't know what school was. My whole family, nobody had been to school. And I didn't know what benefits school had for me. But Catholic Relief Services, they built this school, and they started tricking children to go to the school. And I think they tricked me. They tricked me too. The trick was simple. Every morning they provided just a little snack in that village school for any child who came there. I loved the snack, but I hated the school. Unfortunately, they decided to tie the little snack to the school. And I was taken hostage. I was taken hostage because I would go there thinking the teachers would simply say, well, he's miserable, give him the snack, just leave him alone. They don't leave you alone. If you wanted that little snack, you were sentenced to many, many hours of classes. So I kept going to that little village school just for a little snack. And any day I went to school and I realized they were not fixing that little snack, I tricked every teacher and I escaped from school. But as long as they were fixing that little snack, it meant the whole world to me. I kept going for a little snack. Today I am standing here joyfully still alive, holding a master's in public administration from a university in California. And I am back home. And for 15 years, I have worked for Catholic Relief Services. And my job has been tricking children to go to school. How neat is that? They tricked me, today I can trick other children. But all I want to say to you is that, not only that, I've been blessed now with a wife and 4 children, and trust me, my children will never be hungry again. Today I can provide a little snack. Today I can provide 3 meals a day for them. And that is because somebody else, maybe it's all of you, through Catholic Relief Services, sent that little snack thousands of miles away into that little village to trick me to go to school. My life has never been the same again. My children are all in school and doing very well in school. You know, they are in school, whether they like it or not, they have to go to school. Because now I have come to realize education is simply liberation. And it took just a little snack. And you know, I have had a very difficult, I was in a school speaking 2,000 children, 2,000 high school students. Great experience. When I finished, they invited me for lunch. It doesn't get better than having lunch with 2,000 teenagers. But after lunch, I was watching and I saw how much food went to trash. There was a lot of good food that went to trash. And that was very painful to watch. I started to think to myself, if myself and those 3 little boys just had a little bit more food, maybe my little brothers could have lived. And I could have siblings today. They died simply because we didn't have enough to stay alive. I think God bless you and me. He bless us all. But He bless us so that we can be sources of blessings to one another. So that we can be sources of blessings, especially to those who are less fortunate than we are. it's okay to, we talk about being voices for the voiceless. It's wonderful to be voices for the voiceless. But I think at some point it's important to give a voice to the voiceless. And that little snack did it for me. The power of a little snack in the life of a hungry child can never be underestimated. And I'm here. 75 years, Catholic Relief Services celebrating 75 years of joy, 75 years of grace to the world. The mission of the church is to bring love into the world in which we live. And Catholic Relief Services for 75 years has worked hard to bring that love into many parts of the world, ensuring that a pregnant woman who is trying to give life does not die in the process of giving life. Making sure that people receive education who would otherwise not do that. I actually stand here on behalf of millions. In the gospel, that parable, Jesus cured 10 lepers. Only one of them came back to Jesus to say thank you. But today I stand here not just as that one leper. Yes, I am the one leper. But I want you to know that I also represent all the other 9 lepers who around the world, whose lives have been touched and transformed. They cannot make it here. I want to say thank you to you all on behalf of Catholic Relief Services, on behalf of Rice Bowl, because that magic little snack that changed the story of my life came from Rice Bowl money. I used to walk 5 miles every day to school, and 5 miles back, that's 10 miles a day. And anytime I was walking, you wake up, no breakfast, and you are walking 5 miles to school, you get to school terribly, miserably hungry. But anytime I was going to give up, and I think of that little snack that awaits me, I had the motivation, the courage, the strength to keep walking. And my life has never been the same again. And I just stand here singing your praises, singing your glory. Thank you all for the greatness you have been. The justice, if you ask me what is justice, I'll tell you it's that little snack. That little snack for me is the greatest justice I ever received. Now, I just want to end here. That's my little story. But just take a moment to share with you. I've been traveling to 49 states, a lot of dioceses, a lot of parishes, a lot of schools. And I do that because I want to say thank you to all people who support Catholic Relief Services. Some kind of fundraising for CRS. And so a little tidbits about what I know and what I've seen in terms of, now that we're talking of annual Catholic appeal, just to share a little tidbits about that. And I had this beautiful quote from Archbishop Desmond Tutu. He says this, it's an African proverb, but it comes from, he says, if you are neutral in situations of injustice, you have chosen the side of the oppressor. And he also says, if an elephant has its foot on the tail of a mouse, and you say that you are neutral, the mouse will not appreciate your neutrality. Think about that. Fundraising, I just share my little story and how I have seen that to be. When we do, like when I go, I just sharing my experience of doing fundraising for Rice Bowl and CRS. One key thing is all about putting a face on fundraising. And I read this to you. I said, development professionals know that one of the first rules of fundraising is that people give to people. People give to people. There is no substitute for the personal touch, the human face. And so that is key, something key about that. And I share my story every day in churches. I've traveled, I can't count how many parishes, how many masses I've spoken at, just because of the human face, and tell a story, a powerful story, stories that are compelling, just put a face on all that. I remember I just went to a parish in Seattle. It's called Holy Family Parish. Last year, the rice bowl was $7,000. I spoke at that parish, just share my simple story of how just putting a face on CRS rice bowl. Their last collection, $35,000. Just putting a face really, really makes a difference. That is something that I just wanted to share with you. And, you know, and sometimes somebody has to tell that story. And who is that person who tells that story? The person who tells that story matters. I remember a Franciscan friar priest came to for mission appeal in Orange Diocese. But you see, that was funny. He was very skinny, very, very skinny. And he didn't wear any sandals. Maybe that's their spirituality, the Franciscan. So he had this garment around himself, looking very skinny, as if he was starving, he was going to die tomorrow of hunger. And after he preached his mission appeal, I think they got the biggest collection forever for mission appeal in that time. Because people say, well, that man is really hungry. Let's give him money. Let's feed him. He just, look at him, otherwise he's going to die. So, I mean, they've got so much money just for mission appeal. And so, you know, we have to think about who is going to make that pitch. How does he appeal to the givers, the parishioners, the diocese? And so you think about who is going to make that pitch for you. I mean, people have come to me to say after Mass, speaking for Right Go, that Thomas, I mean, there was somebody who owns a car dealership, and he came to me and said, Thomas, I will hire you in a heartbeat for my car factory. And he said this, you can convince a homeless person to buy a car. And you can really convince somebody to follow you into hell. He said that to me. I mean, he was just, you know, sometimes how you exaggerate without telling a lie. That's what he just did. So you are looking for somebody who can actually really tell a compelling story. And why do they need money? My experience in the United States, working a lot with parishes, is that American Catholics are still the most generous. Trust me, that's so true. The American Catholics are still the most generous. But the American Catholic really wants to know. He wants to have a reason why he should give you his money. He wants to know where his money is going, what the money is going to do, and who benefits from it. Accountability. You know, gone are those days. I work with Catholic Relief Services, and we have had issues and experiences of the accountability and church. You know, sometimes we give money to the dioceses and this for programs. They are very good at keeping all the records, church records, baptismal, sacramental records for ages. You go back 100 years looking for your baptismal, everything is there. But in terms of keeping records for work projects, no, that's not their cup of tea. I'm talking of Africa, but here I don't know, but I'm just sharing that in case it applies. They will tell you that, why do you think I'm a priest, I'm a bishop, so why do you ask me to account for this? Don't you trust me? It's not about trust. It is just a trend. Somebody is asking me to account to him, and somebody is asking that person to account to them. And so the trend is that the more accountability you give, the more money you get. And I was speaking to major donors for CRS, and they said to me, fellow, it was in this golf club, big golf club. I didn't know, they didn't let me in because I didn't have a suit and a tie. So they had to take me to a shop and buy a tie for me, and they tied it for me, and then they let me in, and then we finished about 20 major donors. And when I finished, one of the major donors said something in the midst of everybody. He said, I don't want you to guilt me into giving you money. Don't guilt me into giving you money. Just show me results. Show me results. Show me deliverables. Yes, I gave you money this. All I want you to say, you gave me this, and here is all I have achieved with that money. And I will give you whatever you want. There are many, also being very thankful to your donors is very important. I've had people who come to me and said, I have been given to Catholic Relief Services for 50 years now. But just to know that you came all the way into this church just to say thank you. It really nails it all down. And you have made it, you've put a face on it. Just the word thank you is so crucial. So I know we will have more time to talk about this and many other experiences to share, but I just want to say thank you for Rice Bowl, thank you for CRS, and we are all called to share these blessings that God has blessed us with. Thank you very much.